Chris is talking about RFCs. Chris Culling, this is his bio. Chris Culling is happily married, retired from the U.S. Army, and works as a CTI analyst for MindPoint Group. He has 3 adult children, a dog, 2 cats, and an actual Vietnamese pot-bellied pig. Chris has earned a number of industry certifications. He's deciding which ones to allow to expire because you can't keep them all. And he says he's one of the 3 people you've met who actually digs RFCs. And I know that Joff likes RFCs, and I kind of do too. So that might be the whole population right there.
We've got a weird collection of people here, right?
Yeah. So welcome, Chris. Rebuilding civilization post-apocalypse. That sounds fantastic.
Chris, how did you get your start in information security?
So I retired from the Army in 2011. And right before I retired, I thought it would be good to get into computer stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I started taking schooling and just getting certifications, SANS classes over the years, and finally hit my first real SOC role just several years ago as a SOC analyst. Then I moved over into CTI, and I'm on my second CTI role, and I'm getting ready to jump into the SANS Masters.
Oh.
I'm finishing up my second grad cert with them, so I'll have like 15 more credits to finish up the Masters there. So.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Now, did you have a related specialty in the military? Were you signals or something like that, or?
So I was military intelligence.
Okay, gotcha.
Which doesn't necessarily translate one-to-one to cyber, but just frameworks and whatnot.
Yeah, it's enough of a related interest, so that makes sense. All right, we'll jump off the camera then, Chris, and we're going to turn it over to you, and take it away, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Crawl out through the fallout, baby, when they drop that bomb. Crawl out through the fallout with the greatest of aplomb.
Good evening. My name's Chris Culling, and I'd like to welcome you to a special edition of Fallout TV Tonight for Wild West Hackin Fest Deadwood 2020. This segment of the show is brought to you by Jason. I will violently own you in public if you aren't wearing a mask street, who not only taught us the value of wearing 1 mask or 2 masks, but 3 or more masks, regardless of what it does to your ears. Today is March 188th, in the year that never ends, 2020. Our world has been hit by a great pestilence. Nobody knows where all this is going to end up. It could turn into the land of the Walking Dead. We could get hit by an asteroid. Nuclear war could even break out. Which brings us to the sponsor of our next segment. Some call him the seer, who predicted all of this. Some blame him for all of this. But regardless of who you believe, he did have a vision 3 years ago in 2019. And his name is the Hacker Jeopardy guy. Tonight's show is inspired by a gentleman who now looks like one of us, and who also looked like most of us in the before time when he retired from television 15 years ago in 2015. So long ago, I don't remember his name, but I remember he had his top 10 list. So for tonight's show, we're going to do the same thing. Tonight's top 10 list is going to cover RFCs for rebuilding civilization post-apocalypse. Now, because of my limited broadcast time, it's actually a top 7 list, because base 7 and it's 2020, and I can do this. Now, these RFCs aren't just any old RFCs. These are special RFCs. These are RFCs that were given to mankind over the last 126 years, beginning in 1978. On April 1st of each year, the aliens come down from Venus to pass on their wisdom to mankind. And you know it's true because you've recently seen it on the news like everyone else. So as they gave us this wisdom, they knew that we would destroy civilization as we know it and would have to rebuild. So while I won't be going deep into these RFCs, I would recommend that everyone go online and look them up so that you too can experience the great wisdom of the ancient travelers. So let's jump right into the top 7 RFCs for rebuilding civilization post-apocalypse. At number 7, we have RFC 2550, Y10K and beyond. Now everyone remembers hearing about that Y2K problem, and they fixed it. by switching to a 4-digit year. Well, that'll work just fine until the year 10,000, when the years roll over to 5 digits. Thankfully, in their wisdom, the aliens have given us this warning so that we can fix this issue before it becomes a real problem. We still have almost 8,000 years to make this work, which should be plenty of time for the devs to do their thing. Number 6 on our list is RFC 5841, TCP option to denote packet mood. Now, when our alien friends passed along the wisdom of RFC 5841, they knew we couldn't handle the entire truth at the time. In private conversations that I alone have had with the Venetians, they confided in me that in the future, packets will indeed evolve into sentient beings. Hence, they passed us the wisdom of RFC 5841. In the future, packets themselves will add TCP options to the TCP header using ASCII characters that encode commonly used emoticons to convey their current mood. Very important for us to know so that we will know how our robot masters are feeling. 5 on our list is scenic routing for IPv6. Packets will evolve feelings over time. This RFC focuses on green IT, whereby packets will be routed to get as much fresh air time as possible. A routing engine implementing scenic routing should therefore choose paths based on avian IP carriers, which we will discuss shortly, and/or wireless technologies so that the packets will get out the miles of dark fibers that are in the ground and get as much fresh air and sunlight as possible. It's important that we keep our future robot overlords happy. Remember that. RFC number 4 on the list is RFC 6592, the null packet. Simple, yet so very profound. The null packet is one of my favorite RFCs of all time, and I think you'll agree with me. Moving on to number 3 in our top 7, RFC 2795, the Infinite Monkey Protocol Suite, or IMPS. This RFC describes a protocol suite which supports an infinite number of monkeys that sit at an infinite number of typewriters in order to determine when they have either produced the entire works of William Shakespeare or a good television show. The Infinite Monkey Protocol Suite includes communications and control protocols for monkeys and the organizations that interact with them. While the RFC contains information on the entire network infrastructure, we're only going to focus on what's shown on the screen. Groups of monkeys are physically located in Zone Operations Organizations, or ZOOs. A simian, or semi-integrated monkey interfacing anthropomorphic node, is a device that is physically attached to the monkey. It provides the communications interface between a monkey and its zoo. The simian uses a cross-habitat idiomatic message protocol, or CHIMP, to communicate with the zoo. And the zoo, in return, uses the knowledge and efficient emulation protocol for ecosystem resources, or KEEPR, to interact with the simian. When a zoo sends a KEEPR request, the simian must send a KEEPR response. So this screen shows a list of KEEPR request codes, such as 1 to determine the status of the monkey, 3 to wake the monkey up if it's sleeping, or 7 to tell him to stop all monkey business. This next screen shows the simian device replies, such as 1, monkey is asleep, 5, the monkey is alive, which is good, or 8, the monkey refuses requests. So now this is just to add a little humor to the broadcast tonight, but don't laugh too much at it, because we all know what's ultimately going to befall us. Moving on to number 2. This is RFC 4824, transmission of IP datagrams over the Semaphore Flag Signaling System, or SFSS. Once civilization finally collapses, in order to restore it, we'll need to communicate. The previous RFCs that we covered can be implemented once we've restored our infrastructure and brought our networks back online. However, until that happens, we will need ways to communicate over long distances. That's where this RFC comes in. As you can see in the chart, we can not only use the semaphore flag signals, or SFSs, to communicate letters, but we can also pass along hex values as well. When we switch to IP over Semaphore Flag Signaling System, or IP SFS. Additionally, IP SFS can be used to send 9 different IP frame controls. So if you don't mind sending your messages 1 letter or hex value at a time, this RFC might just be the one for you to implement after the collapse. And finally, we've arrived to the #1 item on our top 7 list of RFCs for rebuilding civilization post-apocalypse. #1 is RFC 1149, or a standard for the transmission of IP datagrams on avian carriers. This RFC involves writing or printing an IP datagram on a small roll of paper and securing it to the leg of an avian carrier. The bandwidth is limited to the leg length, while the maximum transmission unit is variable. It generally increases directly proportional to the age of the carrier. Some data loss should be expected, as this is a best effort delivery method. Now, while the previous RFCs discussed are primarily hypothetical, RFC 1149 was actually implemented by the Bergen Linux user group of Norway almost 60 years ago in 2001. They set up a trial whereby they would send a number of ping packets to test the effectiveness of this transmission system. You can see on the screen an example of one of their test packets. This is a gentleman who's preparing the packet for transmission. We can see here the packet securely affixed to the leg of the avian carrier. And as usually happens, this is a shot of the ping packet timing out. But eventually, the packet finally transmits and is heading over beyond those mountains, where these two gentlemen are patiently waiting to receive the ping. One ping only. And here we see the successful return of the avian carrier back to the origin of its transmission. If you look closely, it's right there, along with proof of the return to ping, and a photo of the Bergen Linux user group, happy with the results of their proof of concept. They ended up typing up the results of their ping test, and as you can see, they had 4 of 9 successful packets transmitted, with a 55% packet loss. The time of transmission for each packet is quite high. I've translated it into minutes for you. So as you can see, each packet took an average of 87 minutes to make its round trip. In the end, 3 of the pigeons didn't return to the test, and 2 pigeons returned without IP packets because someone forgot to shut the cage. And that concludes tonight's broadcast and brings us to our nightly PSA. Tonight's PSA is brought to you by my family. My beautiful wife and 3 wonderful grown children, and all of my pets. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. And in the center there, you can see Max, my Vietnamese potbelly pig. So our PSA for tonight is friends don't let friends drink. My lords. Very important. I want to thank you for watching. If you stay on this channel, up next we have the great weekly game show everyone loves, Hacker Bingo Apocalypse Edition, hosted by none other than the prophet himself, that lentile guy. And these are the credits. I was your host, Chris Culling, retired U.S. Army Military Intelligence. I work as a CTI analyst with MindPoint Group. Got my contact information at the bottom. And if you happen to notice Bunker Boy throughout any of the slides, he was proudly brought to you by Bethesda Game Studios. Thank you very much for attending my presentation.
Well done. That was fantastic.
Let me, oh, there we go. All right.
I didn't know they lost some of the pigeons. Did they really lose some of the pigeons?
They did. They only got 4 of the 9 back with packets.
Oh, right. That's
3 of them actually just disappeared.
Right.
2 of them came back with no packets. So
it's no wonder why we don't use that today with that kind of a failure rate. I mean, otherwise pigeons would be awesome.
They would. Well, after civilization falls, I mean, what are you going to do to begin with? Right.
Well, aren't those? They were like, carrier pigeon is the species, right? I think there aren't any more carrier pigeons. There's carrier pigeons or passenger pigeons. One of them that was used.
That was 60 years ago in 2001. So
yeah, a lot has happened in the 60 years since 2001. That's for certain. Well, do we have any questions in the Discord from this? A couple of us picked up on your one ping only reference. I was going to shout I wanted to turn on my mic and shout Crazy Ivan, but I Out of respect for you, I did not do that.
That was a late addition. I thought of that at the last moment.
That's one of the things that goes through my head all the time. Anytime I'm pinging something, I can't get Sean Connery out of my head when I try to ping stuff. Were they UDP packets? They were. It was ping, so it was ICMP, right?
I'm assuming they were properly formed ping packets.
So, right. It looked right. The beginning part was correct, at least.
Yep.
They were IPv4. I picked up that much. I think I actually like reading RFCs because they every single one of them you find out has room for interpretation. No matter how you try to just nail it down precisely how to do it, there's always something you could have done a little bit differently. And yeah, that's reasonable. That makes some sense. And you find a lot of security issues that way. So,
oh yeah,
put yourself in the mind of someone who's trying to misunderstand it. And there's somebody who accidentally misunderstood it in exactly that way, and it might be useful for.
And that's why it's good for red and blue teams to be familiar with the standards, because that's what the equipment's set up for. And if attacker wants to get around something, knowing that the standard is the standard, they can manipulate that.
Right. Well, I think one of the things when you first start looking at packets, I think the ping packets have a consecutive string of characters, like ascending like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, A through C, something like that. And that was, I thought that was suspicious when I first saw that. Nope, turns out that's how you're supposed to do it. If it's not that, that's suspicious. Thank you for that. That was a fun talk. I like talks that are not the normal talk. That was great.
Well, thank you very much for having me.